Yahoo! Prof here, and you might have caught my, I think it was nearly an hour-long video on me acquiring the charging controller adapter grip for the Nintendo Switch 2. You're like, how the fuck did you talk about that for an hour? Well, we cover other topics too. By the way, it does have buttons on the other side. And I got a second Nintendo actual branded charger because, of course, once again, Nintendo has issues with docks and chargers and all that other bullshit. Turns out I also have two Switch Pro controllers. I didn't know that. I thought I only had one. We went through the logic of why I would have two, and it makes sense now. I talked myself into possibly buying a. This is the Switch. Second set of Switch controllers. Switch. This is the relegation space for the first Switch. Yeah. Now I can get the second set of Joy-Cons, which are now on the charge grip over there, so they're dead. Dead as a doorknob. Plug this in the wall and get them chooching. Same thing for this. I gotta charge that in. And then also you're like, you don't need to buy a Nintendo charger just to charge your controllers. Right. The whole thought is when you take the console with you, you're gonna need to charge it. I don't want to have to undo the charger for my dock. And you're like, but it's USB-C. Nintendo's shown how standard Nintendo, and that's how we're getting into this next topic. And the next company over here have shown, how so standard and ubiquitous USB-C really is. Oh, and also, specifically what we're talking about here is MagSafe, which goes into Qi 2. Basically, Apple made MagSafe 1 backwards compatible with Qi 1. They also made the magnets open, meaning on the back of this phone there's a case, even though the Pixel 9 Pro doesn't support Qi 2 natively. Most brands, including Samsung, they're the ones that started it with the S23, I believe, S23 Ultra. I think my mom has it. Yeah, because 25 this year that just came out. S24 Ultra, I believe, is the one that I got my mom. Or she actually got herself. I shouldn't say that. I didn't get her that one. I got her the iPad. She actually got it. I didn't even know about it. She even picked the color. Got it direct from Samsung. Like, I've tried to switch her to Apple, and you're like, why have you done that? You're not an Apple person, right? But she has her iPad. She has AirPods, but the phone, nope. Android, also very much a Samsung person. Try to get her to go to Pixel. No, Samsung person. For 4 phones. She hates all the Samsung software on it. So if they still made one of those, do you remember when they did the Note? Was it? It might have been a Note 7, but it exploded. But for a while there, Samsung had some like Play Edition phones. She'd probably want that. Because we basically get rid of all of the Samsung software that is on there. So yes, besides Nintendo not doing things by the USB-C standards, you're looking at another person that doesn't, and that is Apple. I originally picked this up because Apple still to this day has the most reliable chargers. They're also one of the only ones where if you still need a 5-volt 1-amp charger, they're just about the only ones. I gotta clean that off. There's little schmutz on there, probably from the Kit Kats. They're probably the only ones that actually make no, even when I was working at Best Buy, they were the only ones. Everybody else wanted to sell you a 2.1 amp. And back then, 2.1 amps was considered quick charging. It wasn't It was fast charging, sorry. 2.1 amp was fast charging, actually 2 amp and up with fast charging. Quick charging, which would be like quick charge 2.0, and then quick charge 3.0. 3.0 is super common. There are even still some phones that come out today that still have quick charge 3.0 support, as well as, you know, the modern USB-C PD. Almost no phones have quick charge 4.0 support, and I have one of the few chargers for that, which is the Razer Phone 2 charger. So this says USB PD output 5 volt 3 amp, 9 volt 2.2 amp. So this doesn't even do 12 volt. If it was truly PD capable, it would also, because it's a 20 watt, it should be able to do 5 volt, 9 volt, 12 volt, 15 volt. 15 might be optional, but I don't think it is. And it should even be able to do 20 volt at 1 amp, theoretically. Brands do weird shit. I think I might have talked about it in another video. I know I ranted about it on Discord. We do have a Discord if you're a part of that. But this is the 20 volt Apple charger. This came out when the the original MagSafe charger came out. What can happen, and Apple does this on their own chargers, we'll see if the 30 watt over here is also like that. New 30 watt. It's not really new. I think it came out last year. I meant to buy these sooner. Just haven't gotten around to it, and wasn't a huge thing. But the reason why it's nice to have Apple chargers is because they are like the ubiquitous standards. For a while, they're the only 100 watt capable USB-C charging cables you could get were the ones for the MacBooks, because they needed to be 98 watts, close enough to the 100 and I shouldn't say that. There were cables that were 3 foot or less, maybe even 4 foot. But if you wanted a 6 foot cable that could do 100 watt charging, which I wanted for my Blade Stealth, which was one of the first ones to be able to with a dedicated GPU to be fully powered by USB-C. Basically, if you wanted a 6 foot cable, you had to get the Apple cable, the one for the 98 watt MacBooks. I mean, they follow stuff like, if you want a good long Thunderbolt 4 cable, Apple is like, and it's actually, people, oh, it's such an expensive cable. Look at other Thunderbolt cables. Yeah, no, that's actually like a reasonable price for what they did with it. You're paying for it, but the tech in general is expensive. But with I was complaining about my Anker PowerPort Atom, which is a 30 watt. I think it's actually made to like replace this guy, or the predecessor of this guy potentially. But what we found out, and because I was wondering, why the fuck is it not quick charging my Pixel? Well, in order to quick charge the Pixel 9 Pro, you need 27 watts. It's a 30 watt charger. You're like, oh, it's good. No, specifically the Pixel 9 Pro does its 27 watts because all Pixels previously have been 18 watt fast charge. Because they were 9 volt 2 amp. Maybe not all previous. I think the Pixel 9 is slightly slower, still on 9 volt though. But like Pixel 5, Pixel 4, Pixel 3, etc. Maybe even Pixel 7 Pro that I had. No, 7 Pro it was up because I had that dedicated wireless charger that doesn't work with the 9 anymore. Yeah, they made a dedicated desktop. It might have been 7 or 6 and 7 Pro. 3, I guess 8. Yeah. Either way, like they make Google uses like a proprietary wireless charging if you want to do faster than, what is it, 15 watts, I think. Or maybe even to enable 15 watt wireless charging on the older devices. Either way, it was 18 volts or 18 watts, which is actually 9 volt 2 amp. So on the Pixel 9 Pro, it actually does 27 watt quick charging. Now the reason why I wasn't quick charging at work is because that that Anker is actually based on the Apple, I think the previous one of this. which, despite being a 30-watt adapter, it does 30 watts, 20 volts, 1.5 amps. So then you would think that would go down and, it would figure that out. Well, it turns out the 9 volts is actually not at 3 amps. Even though it's under the 30 watts, it is not at 3 amps. And I mean, I think it's, I don't even know if it was 2.2. I think it would have been 1.5, which is not even enough to quick charge an older Pixel, which needed 2 amps of 9 volt, right? So that's the sort of shit that Apple pulls. Whereas if you go by actual PD spec, it should be doing as much amperage as it can at the voltages. Like if this is a 20 watt, maybe they don't have to go above. Like if say they're only going to 9 volts or something, right? That's fine, but they really should be doing the maximum amperage, which I think is 3 amps at most of the voltages, up until it runs out of wattage, right? So that's the story there. In this case, what is this? Well, technically I wouldn't have needed this, right? I just got it to have a dedicated charger for my MagSafe. I don't know if on the new MagSafe I'm going to do the same thing I did here. This is a strain relief I added, but if you notice, it does protrude ever so slightly. So on stuff that this really needs to flush mount to, that will actually keep it off the device. So I will definitely do this side though, because Apple's strain relief is garbaggio. In Geek Squad, how we made cables last was wrap them with electrical tape. You hold your finger here because you need it to still go in the device like through a case, right? So you'd hold it like that, and you wrap it down once, go past at least one width of the electrical tape. I liked going 2. That'll give you a nice long tail. And no, you're not done. That's not the correct way, because what you need to do is once you're there, then you wrap it all the way back up to here. We never had a cable that we did that to, despite using it daily for 10 hours, because we had a set of cables. Like I had a set of USB-A to Lightning, I had C to Lightning, and C to C, and a charger for each at every station. And then we had like the docks that you can put the most of that was Lightning at the time. They later went on to USB-C. Some of the tests, when you're testing to see if things have failed or testing new parts, you need the dock from Apple. I think it has like a speaker in it or something, or how the speakers bounce off the dock is what the test is. I don't remember exactly. But we had 3 chargers at every 3 chargers and 3 cables at every station, if not more. But there was at least 3, like one C to Lightning, one A to Lightning, one C to Lightning, one C to C. We might have had A to C as well, because sometimes some things can get revived. Like, they don't do the PD shake. And if you don't do the PD handshake, PD is just like, I'm not charging you at fucking all, right? It just says fuck off. So sometimes what you need the A to C. It wasn't very often, but sometimes you need the A to C on the 5 volt 1 amp adapter, and that would like resurrect the device. But yeah, you always want to pair, like, realistically, if you're using Apple devices, like some people are probably gonna hate me like this, you should at least have one setup of Apple cable and Apple charger. Because if you ever have issues where like it's not charging, that way you can go back to the Apple one and more than likely it's going to charge it. Or if you ever have to plug it into a PC using non-Apple cables, it fucking knows. Like it even knows the difference between a MiFi certified cable and an Apple cable. Like Apple and MiFi, and then below that is just trash, right? According to Apple. I'm not saying you have to use all of your chargers. Like I've obviously nowadays used like Google USB-C cables to charge modern iPhones, or I'm using just a generic Ugreen wireless charger to charge my iPhone SE, which yes, it has Lightning, which is why I waited for the SE3, the 2022 edition, because then it had wireless charging, which is the big thing that it was missing for me. I don't mind actually having the home button. It's actually convenient. Easy navigation, especially on a phone where you can't go back. Like there is no like swipe back or press back button like on Android. But yeah, so I picked this up. It charges. I actually picked this up with my AirPod Pro Gen 2, which have MagSafe, not just wireless charging, like the AirPod 2s with wireless charging case had, or the AirPod Pros had wireless charging. They actually have MagSafe. Now, I have mine in a D brand case, so the MagSafe isn't enough. Like, if you had this hanging up and you put it down there, it would just fall. But if you have this flat, like that, the MagSafe is enough to locate it correctly. And that's the big part about MagSafe. Not that it was hard to align wireless, but on some of the higher end, like Samsung ones and other brands till then, they actually started doing multiple coils to make it easier to line up your device. Like Samsung, the high-end Samsung one that kind of looked like a plush pillow, actually had 3 coils in it, as well as being air-cooled, which is crazy. That you're like, and it's because like people weren't lining up and make it easier to do that, right? Now with MagSafe, you can just have one big coil because boom, or now Qi 2, that bang, it is in there. So MagSafe Gen 1, which is what this is. This is also only a 3-foot cable. Let's see if I can show it to you. Here, I'll do half. 3-foot cable. That's only 1.5 feet right there. This is not enough. If you're going to use this, like this is fine for like charging next to your bedside or something like that. Even then, it might be a little short, to be truthful. But this nonsense. Also, the fact that the cable is attached. The hoops Apple users fucking jump through, because this is the only good MagSafe charger realistically. So basically, all the accessories are to like loop this shit through some sort of like physical adapter holder thing to get it to work, which is exactly what I had to do for my I had a Gen 1 Pixel Watch, and now I have a Gen 3 big one, 45 millimeter. People don't bother because this is set the standard of, yeah, you just take this and you make a holder for it. Unlike my Fossil watches where you could buy alternate chargers that you would just plug a wall wart into in a cable, like a micro B or a USB-C cable into, you have to route Google's charger through the whole shit. Which now, same thing with MagSafe, that does make sure, like, they don't have to engineer charging technology. They're just engineering the holder for it. It's just, it makes certain things be ass backwards often. Because you're having to design around this limitation that Apple gave you, and you cannot unplug the cable. You can see there, this one is exactly the same way. Oh, one benefit of having this, these are from Night Eyes. I really like them. I put them on almost all my cables. You've probably seen yellow, blue, pink, now black. I put the black ones on the Apple because they're white. And you can see that having that on there actually holds this in place. Otherwise, this thing, it is so flat metal, it would just... So they're like, downside is it doesn't let MagSafe things that are wider than the puck sit properly. Upside is it doesn't move when it's on by my keys and stuff, because that's where I just plop down my AirPods. But this was bought with the AirPods Pro 2 USB-C. Now you're like, but you don't have AirPods Pro 2 USB-C. No, I don't. Literally a week after I bought them, work gifted us AirPods Pro 2s. So I returned the USB-C ones. They were looking at me very funny, like, you didn't like them? Like, why are you returning them? I'm like, oh, yeah, work literally gifted me a pair. And the difference between a Lightning pair and a USB-C pair, though there are advantages of the USB-C one, if you're going to buy one now, obviously buy the USB-C one, are not enough for me to go from free to paying full price, right? So yeah, those got returned. They're looking at me all funny, like, why are you returning this? Like, you didn't like them? I'm like, we pre-ordered them. What do you mean you didn't like it? I'm like, no. Turns out work just gifted me a pair as part of like our holiday stuff. part of it was too that they're doing construction, so they wanted the noise canceling for people. But yeah, great gift. I think they had them like not personalized, branded for the company. I have a case on it, so you don't even see it. But I had bought this already for the other ones. I didn't return it because I like having a dedicated place to put my AirPods, especially with the magnet built in. I just chuck it down on this and bada bing, bada boom. Lately, it's been hit or miss with using AirPods. I always carry them. It tends to be either I'm in a streak of using them all the freaking time or basically not at all. Kind of how I play video games too. But this Gen 1 MagSafe is 15 watt, which lines up with Qi 2. Okay, Qi 2. Qi 1's 7 watts. Qi 2 also has the MagSafe batteries in it because Apple open sourced that. So that is why this is the 20 watt charger, because you need at least the 15 watts for this. So this was also the Apple charger at the time for your iPhone. So this is like the max the iPhone would have charged at no matter what. Anyway, so yeah, I can use this also to charge the I have a USB-C to Lightning for my iPhone SE 3 2022 edition. You know, in case I do need to, like for some reason it's not taking the normal stuff I would normally do. But these basically stay paired together. So what I do this time, we buried lead like a million times here. I bought, when I picked up the Switch charger and the Switch charging grip and the Switch AC adapter, right over there. I kind of did the same thing for these. I really don't need these, to be truthful. Personally speaking, I do not have a new enough iPhone that can actually use classic Apple bullshit. This is a MagSafe 2 charger. Do you notice how it doesn't say MagSafe 2? Let me get macro mode. Just for you guys, okay? Okay, there you go. Do you see how that says MagSafe 2? No, wait, it says MagSafe 2 meter. Yeah, that's one of the few ways that you can guarantee you get a MagSafe 2 charger. Also, that also doesn't say MagSafe 2, does it? Nope. What about here? Nope. Doesn't say that it does 25 watts either, does it? I'm not seeing that. Nope. Compatible MagSafe for the iPhone with the latest revision of iOS. And how am I supposed to know what that is? There's not even a year on the packaging. Yeah. That's what I fucking thought. Oh, there you go. 2024. Copyright. So you have to know that you have at least a 2024 iPhone or iOS device with the latest revision of iOS. And you don't even need the latest. You need the latest of 2024. Yeah, because I couldn't just call this a MagSafe 2 charger, which is what it is. The easiest way to know, they do make the MagSafe 2 one. And if you buy it directly from Apple, you should get it. To be truthful, it's been like a year now. Theoretically, all the MagSafe 1 chargers, which is what this is. Most people, to be truthful, if I showed them, would not even fucking know there's a difference. I can guarantee it. That part of that is, remember how I said this is a poultry 3 foot, 1 meter? MagSafe 2, the easiest way to get is just get the 2 meter. Part of the reason why you're upgrading is probably to get the 2 meters anyway, because now I can plug this into the wall and actually have it make it to my recliner. And you're like, wow, you're sounding very American. I am an American, aren't I? The next thing that has to happen is MagSafe 2 is 25 watts. So what do you need? You need your 30 watt adapter. And this is the updated one. You want to make sure you get the updated one. You're like, how do you know that? There's a model number you got to look up. I can show you this here. Yeah, because of how Apple does it, they don't say like, well, it says 2024 there, so you know it's the 2024 30 watt adapter, right? So that would help too. There you go. Compatible with USB-C devices are recommended for MacBook Air, which is weird because in order to use MagSafe 2 charger that's not branded MagSafe 2, required required. Now, the other thing I like about this is it has the removable beep boop, right? And you can get the cable and go ka-chunk with it. And I may eventually do that because, once again, remember how I said 6 foot's not enough? It's not enough. But if I can put a cable on this guy, then you get the cable on this guy, then you get 6 foot from this guy. Please recycle this box. You know, they're saying recommended for use with MacBook Air. They don't say what MacBook Air because it's just MacBook Air. You know, we're only on, I think the MacBook Air got the M4 before the Pro and the normal MacBook did, which was after the iPad, because that's the one my mom has. She has we got her the what was that? The M4 one. The one that had issues where it couldn't go to the iOS on release, which means her old iPad was already upgraded and we couldn't transfer the data because the new one had issues. That was an interesting thing that, you know, we ran into. And it just turned out she had a 3rd gen and went to whatever the M4 generation is. Ended up being perfect. The other one, the battery, like we would have had to get a battery replacement on the other one. But that, I think that was its last iOS update, or there would have been like 1 year of overlap between them, effectively. So perfect timing. We ended up the new keyboard. She loves the new keyboard, the one that comes with the M4 MacBook. I could use the M4 iPad keyboard. That feels as good as a laptop keyboard, depending what I did. If I didn't need Windows or I wasn't used to having it, etc., etc., and I just needed a thing for browsing around, holy shit. And the fact that it can charge quicker through the keyboard attachment that you just plug in the side, and it'll charge both the keyboard and the iPad, and it charges it twice as fast when you do that. Brilliant. Brilliant. The whole M4, beautiful. I realize I still didn't get her a screen protector. I'm a bad son. That was on my list to do for that. And you're like, didn't you do that like 6 months ago? Yes, by the way, I did. But yeah, you got yourself a 30-watt adapter. As much as it doesn't say it's for the MagSafe 2 charger, it's for the MagSafe 2 charger. Yeah, because this does 25 watts, so you need the Apple charger capable of 25 watts. If you plug the 20-watt adapter in to your MagSafe 2 adapter, it will not MagSafe 2. Right? Now, that's something else that should be noted, is MagSafe 2, though 25 watts, and Ugreen has shown this. I just think it's 25 watts. I might be saying this all wrong. But I think MagSafe 1 is 15, and MagSafe 2 is... they don't call it MagSafe 2, though. That's the other thing. When you search MagSafe 2, the old school ones come up, like for MacBooks, for MacBooks. Yes, MagSafe charger provides faster charging up to 25 watts when paired with 30-watt adapter. And they are saying MagSafe, this new one is compatible with Qi and Qi 2. This one would have been, the first gen would have been backwards compatible with Qi. And the magnets, forwards compatible with Qi 2. The Gen 2, I guess I shouldn't call it the MagSafe 2 charger. It should be the MagSafe Gen 2 charger. Ooh, it's braided too. Fancy. So that's, I guess, one way to tell. So that would be an easy way to tell on the 1 meter guy if it's not braided. It's not the newer one. Holy shit, they didn't wrap plastic around the connector for like the first time I think ever. Now the thing I've seen with like Ugreen chargers is they are tested with MagSafe Gen 2 on iPhones. That, however, does not mean they are Qi 2 certified, even though Apple's own charger is both. Yeah, see that? That's called no frickin' strain relief. That's called broken, especially when you're hanging out. You know what that's called? No frickin' strain relief. Like, this is, they're going negative strain relief. Their strain relief used to be god awful. I don't even have a cable to show you because I've fixed all of mine. Here's my iPod cable, my iPod 30 pin. I put Sugru on it so it doesn't get wrecked. Give it some strain relief. Look at that. Right? Now I use double the amount that they say to use because the amount that they show either wouldn't have gone over the plug here, right? Or would have only extended about yay far over. And you really want, like I said, you should be holding the connector like this. Like you need to, like imagine going into cases and stuff like that. You need enough recess, so I usually put it half over like this. And you start wrapping, wrap, and I go 2 widths of electrical tape. Now, electrical tape is 3/4 of an inch, so that's 1.5 inches down, and then I go back up. So that is why I did, against their own instructions, I did double. I think it's 1 pack per here, and 1 pack for here. Whereas I think the directions for the Sugru say break the pack in half, and do one end, like 1/2 per end of the connector. Now you can do that. It's still better than nothing. Like if you're on because Sugru is not cheap nowadays, you can just buy, like I said, these are Night Eyes things. Turns out you can't get the Night Eyes over the giant USB-A or the even more giant 30-pin connector from, for the old Apple products. Do I have? So here's some. Right. So you can see that back in the day, that was 4th gen iPod. That's the strain relief. And that wasn't enough back then. They literally have none now. And they haven't for multiple generations. I think probably since they went to USB-C fully. I might be incorrect there. Oh, here I have one's not in a bag. I didn't realize that. Here you go. Here's my 4th gen USB-A. There you go. You got a little bit, right? This is why I got to use the Sugrus, because you can't get one of those Night Eyes things over in here. You definitely can't get one of the Night Eyes ones over this guy. And you can see it's an older one because it's got the little tabs. They eventually, with like the 5th gen and newer, just yeeted the tabs. But yeah, you can see that's a HP part number. Because he has HP sold iPods. And then this is Firewire. You're like, why do you have Firewire? Oh, I have a Firewire and a USB-C charger. Because if you want to charge an iPod through any of the generations, Firewire is the way to go. Or if it's really dead on battery, very useful. 30-pin USB, 30-pin to Firewire. So I've got another set of. I bought these. That's the one you saw before in yellow. Brand new one from Apple. You were still able to order them as of a couple years ago when I got my iPod built. That's the old stuff. I wonder where I put my. Firewire charger. A brand new one. That's the used stuff. Interesting. I'll have to figure out where I put my Firewire charger. I should have 2 of everything. I bought one to use and one to keep because, oh, they're over here. Okay. I found them. No worries. Basically, I bought a set to use now. Mainly, I've just been using the USB guy because I haven't gotten super on the other cables yet. And I bought a set because I found a seller. You saw those were HP model numbers. He was actually a certified HP like reseller during the period where they had iPods. So he's got all this old, brand new 4th gen iPod stuff. So I knew I'd never see it again, right? And I bought a set to use now, to actually use, and then, theoretically, because it's going to be even harder once I wear that out to find it, I got another set, brand new, kept in good storage, that I know is good. So, this is a much stiffer cable now that it has sleeving on it, which is probably good, because this thing, for how expensive the MagSafe charger, Gen 1 MagSafe charger was, it feels like it could die at any moment, just shrivel in your hands. I don't use mine daily like some people do, because I'm not an iPhone. I have an iPhone, just I'm a Pixel user. Here we can take the Pixel off the thing, and boop, it's on the Pixel. You can't see it. Yeah, you still can't see it because it's on the Pixel. And I will say, part of the reason why you can see the cable right there. Part of the reason why you get the Apple one is this thing is on there. Now here's where I think it really needs strain relief. And that is right here. Because when it's super stuck on the back of your phone, like it is, well, it's super stuck, but it's magneted. Come on. Find the MagSafe. There you go. What you do is you grab the cable and peel it off. So, like, imagine this is stuck. Well, you grab the cable and you pop it off. Well, every time you do that, that puts strain on this little area right there. And Apple basically knows you're going to do that. And you're going to wear it out. So that's why I put the strain relief right there. However, that strain relief is a little thick. And I will admit it doesn't magnet as well on there with that, because it protrudes just that little bit. But it at least distributes, like when you peel it back like that, do you see how you have some strain relief? Look at that. Instead of when you do this and you pull that off, and as much as this looks nicer, you're going to put a heck ton of strain right on that little area right there. So I'm definitely going to be getting out my little tight eyes, guys, and putting on these to preserve this, because I don't want to have to buy another one. I don't use it enough for that. I also never understood the whole point from Apple of this. Not MagSafe. I love the idea of MagSafe. The magnets included with the wireless charging. Because previously, like in the car, I had to have like a clamp guy that then wireless charged by it. My mom still used one of those. I've tried and told her, like, hey, let me get you a MagSafe one. That way you don't have to clamp it. Because what happens with the clamp ones is they're all made for different phones, and it actually starts pressing the buttons on the side of your phone aren't clamp it enough to actually hold it, which then adjusts your volume, which then you can't hear your directions or she likes listening to, used to be books on tape, then CDs. Now you just do it on the phone. Turns that off basically, or your directions, etc. So the cool thing about this is with the magnet, it is strong enough to hold the phone. So you can just get an arm that has a built-in MagSafe charger to it and slap your phone on it, and you don't have to do anything else, right? The thing I never understood was the thing I bought here. Like, why is this Apple's solution? This is a goddamn cable. Like, this is really what makes me think, or reinforces the thought that when Apple added Type-C to their iPhone, they did it like this would have been their, like, they could have not done it, right? Because this would have been their solution. Because what this effectively is this is just a cable but magnetically attached to the back of your phone. Now, the ways you can use this, the best ways, are to get a mount that holds this charger in some way, and then you can use it like I do my Ugreen chargers, etc., etc., etc. I don't know, though, if unless you're like, I find it interesting because if you want to test if something is Qi compatible or MagSafe compatible, the number one, like I find that interesting testing that, right? So the number one thing you can do to test that is to have yourself the Apple MagSafe charger. Even though they were a little bit late to the Qi, the wireless charging gang, this thing is highly compatible, right? And then the magnets were then inherited by Qi 2, and this, their MagSafe Gen 2 charger, we got to call it because that's what it is. I guess not the MagSafe 2, because if you type in MagSafe 2, you will get MacBook 2010 chargers. Yeah, listen to that too. Like, yes, it's metal on the back, but I would have put like an e-grips, some rubber like this on this side. So something else, they've made it thinner. I don't know if you can tell that from the camera, but they've made it considerably thinner. Yes, this one's upside down. So despite being able to do, oh, I can't line those up then. I could do it this way because of polarity. Yeah, it's like 2/3 the thickness. So despite making it 25 watts instead of 15 watts, they've made it thinner. I do like the braided cable because the way that this gets used is like any other charge cable. Because think about this, if you don't have this mounted to something, when you go to grab your phone at the night or in the morning, you're going to pull the whole cable with it. That's like, they basically had to have designed this with the thought that people are just going to make mounts for it. Because now in the car too, I would actually rather have one of these with like a car mount that takes one of these, except those mounts are literally $100 for the mount, then you still have to buy the MagSafe and you still have to buy the car adapter, right? Whereas I can buy like a Ugreen, I don't think Ugreen makes a car mount adapter. I forget which brand I went with in my car, but it's like some super off brand that had a bunch of bad reviews, but from a design perspective, it was the most simple and straightforward. And it's worked great for me. The only time I have had issues with it is in sub-zero temperatures until the car's internals are probably, let's say, like 40 Fahrenheit, maybe? Let's say. Right about there. It won't charge. So for being a car charger, it's from some random Chinese brand, they seem to have not done very good testing on like you guys may not know this, but like the car radios back when you could upgrade your radio in your car, they get tested to hell and back because they know a car is going to be in -40 and or 140 inside the car degree weather. I have a feeling these Chinese brands are not doing that same amount of R&D. But basically, what would happen is I'd drive down the highway, and then, say a third of my drive home, it would suddenly kick in like, boodle beep, and start charging. That's the only downside with that so far. I know for a fact that if you were to use a MagSafe Gen 1 or Gen 2 charger, people have shown off really cool adapters that would even like, you could even get like specifically mounted to a car that you could like snap a panel off in the Mini, and then like it'd look like it's like built right in and stuff. It's a lot more money than buying a $12 adapter. And by the way, that adapter I bought actually charges faster than my Ugreen ones. It's actually nice enough that I've actually considered purchasing it to use inside, because a lot of places where I use a MagSafe, it's right next to my bed. I might actually benefit from like a lot of the Ugreen ones, the other stand ones aren't adhered. The very tall Ugreen one as well is like realistically, you want to at least like weight down the base or double sticky base the thing to your side table or something. like some way to keep it in place. Whereas the car one that's designed to do that, it has a double stick on the base already. Um, why not just put it right where you need it? You know, so I've considered doing that. It charges surprisingly well. I might have shown it off of it. I ended up getting a Scosche cable for it because I knew, like, I was trying to find like a car specific cable. Oh, well, I needed a low profile right angle cable. Scosche always used to make that stuff. Best Buy used to carry it because when you're doing car audio and car accessories, you always need to put things in like weird spots or get them at weird angles. So I knew that was like the brand to look for, but Best Buy doesn't carry them anymore. I ended up getting it off of Amazon because they do still exist, and they do still do, just the Best Buy doesn't. They carry like a different brand of car or accessory now. But that cable is actually super duper nice. They even left a little bit, like, imagine if this was right angle. A lot of right angle ones will put the plug right on the side here. Nope, they were smart and they left just enough so like your average phone case can still clear the right angle connector. Like, and the cable's way overbuilt. Like, I would highly recommend that cable. But yeah, that charger has worked stupidly well, despite being some super off-brand, except when it's like below freezing. Which, if running, happens a lot around here. But car does eventually warm up. This is the, like I was saying, the 30-watt adapter. You need the 30-watt. Also, I would not use the previous gen 30-watt. This is the revised one. I think Apple stopped doing their dumb shit with this. They did indeed. So this one actually follows PD spec. Remember how the Anchor from back when I worked at Best Buy, which would have been now like 5 years ago, that is based on the first generation 30-watt, didn't have 3 amps at 9 volt. Right? Now, Apple being Apple still doesn't have fucking 12 volt. Don't know why. They only had one, like, back when I used to do a lot of Apple repair, I used to actually take pictures of all of the pictures on all of the chargers, because back in the day, they wouldn't do the specifications in here like this. Couldn't get that. The only place you could get the breakdown of, because this is just 30 watts. Why do you care how many volts and amps it is? You could only get it right off the charger. And I would see a lot of them day to day. So if I'd see a different model that I hadn't seen before, I'd take a picture of it and enhance it using, like, increasing contrast, brightness, all that sort of stuff, so you could read it easier. But they're following, it looks like to me, they're following PD spec. They did skip 12 volts, so that might not be PD spec. But they went DC 5 volt 3 amp, 9 volt 3 amp. Hey, I can quick charge my Pixel 9 Pro with this. Huzzah! Which I would hope to, because this is G2. Or 15 volt 2 amp, that's 30 watts, or 20 volt 1.5 amp. Hey, finally, we're doing the correct math. Now, it is missing 12 volt. I don't believe any of Apple's devices, I shouldn't say it, I think there's one. I can tell you why they do the 15 volt, because that is a switch. That's a Surface. That is, if you go all the way back, that's the MacBook, the original MacBook, you know, like the single USB-C port MacBook. That used 15 volt. And for the longest time, for that one, you actually couldn't use Apple's more powerful chargers, because Apple, on the very early MacBook USB-C chargers, pulled the bullshit that Nintendo did with the Switch 1. I can't go get it because it's being used out there, but the Switch 1 version, this is the Switch 2 charger. The Switch 1 only did 5 volt and 15 volt. And that is effectively what the MacBook charger did. So here you go. You got outputs are 30 watts, 27 watts, or 15 watts. So it even does multiple wattage outputs now in there. Like, they're getting better with this finally. 20 volt 1.5 amp, that's 30 watts. 15 volt 2 amp, that's 30 watts. 9 volt 3 amp, that's 27 watts, and 5 volt 3 amp, that is 15 watts. Like I said, they kind of all cap at 3 amps until you get, I don't know if the 15, the 20 can definitely go up to 5 for 100 watts on standard PD. You have to go to PD 3.1 if you want to go to the 140. Technically can do 240. I've never seen a charger that can do it though. You'd think they would though, because gaming laptops, that's where their AC adapters are at, but no, they still use the stupid barrel jacks. I'm guessing they don't want to pay for the cost of the PD and the chonkiness of, I have some cables that are capable of the 240 watt over USB-C, and the amount of chonk those have between, you know, the companies can just go 2 wires with their barrel plug, because that's basically a tip and an outer ring, tip and ring. That's 2 wires. They just need 2 chonk wires instead of, you know, what's in USB-C 20, something like that. Yeah, so this is gonna be plugged in my wall like so, and that can be sitting on a table, or now that this can wirelessly charge, wireless. I don't even know how to illustrate that because I'm using the phone. It would be on. This is still effectively wired charging. Look, you have an AC adapter and you have a thing, and if you pick up your phone, this is moving with the phone. It's effectively plugged in. That's why I don't get the point of the puck in that regard. But being that this charger follows PD spec at least more than the previous 30 volt, this can also finally stand in duty and quick charge the Pixel 9 Pro. This one I will still keep. I will still use it. It just won't get, maybe this one, I'm trying to think about, this one may stay next to my keys and stuff like that just for the AirPod Pros. And this one may stay in the basement more by the recliner, because that way I can wirelessly charge many things and have full support of my Pixel 9 Pro. Before I put it in use though, I am going to add these Night Eyes. Guys, they are well worth the cost. They have saved many a cable for me. On some of them, some cables, I would actually take this and put it over the connector here, right? Like that. I debated doing that on this one, but you can't do that really on this end, so we went that route. That's actually the better way to do it. I do have some around here that are done that way, but you can even see, like, this is a Club 3D USB-C spec. Look at that. 240 watt, 40 gigabit. They do make a 80 gig, but only does 100 watt. But you can see how chonk that is. That is, you know, and it's only 3 foot. It gets around to the back of the computer, and it sits right here. And you're like, why does it sit right there? Well, my fastest USB-C is in the back. I plug something in and pop it right on top there. You're like, but you have a USB-C there. Yeah, that one's only a 10, or I think it's only a 10. Most front USB-Cs on computers, due to loss, having to have the cable and then you plug into another cable and all the RFI noise inside the PC, front ports are usually only 10 gigabit. Rear ports are going to be at least 20 if it's USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 by 2, you know, that nonsense, or USB 4 20 gigabit. They might even be 40 or 80 if you have Thunderbolt or you know, like newer specs of USB 4. But that's why it's hanging out there, is my fastest ports in the back, and I have external SSDs that are plenty fast to take advantage of that. Like the T7, I think it caps out at 10. I'm using it right over there. But I have a T9 that does 20, and then we got that Charge over there. So that's why it's like that. But yeah, as you can see, even on my Club 3D cable, because this newer cable has almost no strain relief, unlike the real USB-C ones from, or I shouldn't say real, the here, I've got one on this guy too. What's this guy? Here, that's a Club 3D. See how that goes over the connector? That's what I would recommend if possible. Now, these have some strain relief on them, so I put it over the existing strain relief and just get it more strain relief, right? So that's another way you can do it. I didn't do that on the Apple one because can't on this end, and it would kind of looked weird to have a big bulbous thing. And then also I want enough strain relief going out this way because that's actually what really helps. Not just right on that hinge part there, but just extending out the force it takes to bend it. If you can make it bend further out, you're going to be better off. But even Club 3D has gone backwards somewhat because if you look at their USB 4 cables, look at that. Look at all that strain relief. You notice how that I don't have one of those night eyes on there? Look at all that strain relief. Now this is only it's not on here because this is pre them having specs you can print on them. But this is only 100 watt, I believe. Might still be 40 gigabit though, because it is Thunderbolt. USB 4 is backwards compatible with Thunderbolt 3. I forget what bandwidth that is, but most cases this is good enough for me. These are also like the other one you saw might have been like a 1 meter. I think this is like a 1.2 meter, or this might be a 0.8 meter, slightly shorter. I think it might be that. It's just long enough basically to make this pile of SSDs. There's my T9. Be able to connect and maybe connect, go around, sit on the keyboard of a laptop, or sit just on top of your PC, stuff like that. But yeah, if you take care of your cables, like here you go. Here's an older, like OG Belkin USB-A. So this is USB 3.1. So 10 gigabit. There you go. S is Super Speed 10. See that? That I also put this on. Now I've had these break before because these are like hand soldered. This is all that's how all USB-Cs used to be made, and even some to this day. And this plastic actually can pull right off that way. And I've broken some like that because these got heavily used. But back they were one of the only legitimate options if you want a data transfer spec above 5. Like the Google ones were good for the ones that came with like the OG Pixel 1 and Pixel 2. Were good at 5 gigabit, but Belkin was one of the few options early on for 10 for USB-A, and then their C2C did 20. And I think we're done because we have a Paisley Marie. Say hi, Paisley. Yeah, she wants to sit and watch some anime. So, questions, comments down below. I know a lot of this was about chargers and in general. So there is a difference. MagSafe Gen 1, MagSafe Gen 2, Qi compatible, Qi and Qi 2 compatible. Qi 1 is 7 watts. That'll do it. Qi 2 is 15 watts. That won't do it, I don't think. Technically, because MagSafe and Qi are different. That should do it. I don't know if it does, because a lot of places that will do MagSafe Gen 2 compatibility and say Qi 2 on them actually don't do the 15 watt charging via Qi 2 for Samsung and Google. Ugreen, one of the big companies, Linus has been pushing them. I have 2 of their. I got a robot there, and I got a robot over there, and then I have the fold-up guy at work. And that's the fold-up guy at work I also use as my portable one, like when I go to conventions or have to travel, that sort of stuff. Izzy, what are you doing? Kitten, what are you doing? Yeah, you wouldn't be done. Well, keep an eye out. We got a big box from Japan for music. If you guys are into that. But yeah, so Ugreen actually says that they don't say, they say it'll charge iPhones, even though it's Qi 2, which should specify that it would work at 15 watts with your Samsung and your Google phones, they only spec it, despite being Qi 2 instead of MagSafe, for iPhones. So I wonder if Apple's is the same, though apparently I was reading straight off the Apple website, it says Qi and Qi 2 for the Gen 2 MagSafe charger. So just make sure if you are getting that one, I would spend the extra, get the 6-footer. If you're getting a Gen 2 charger, you also have to make sure you get the Gen 2 30-watt adapter, not the little rinky-dink 20. Otherwise, you will not actually be able to take advantage of the 25-watt charging of the Gen 2 adapter. Oh, would you like to know why you might not be able to take advantage of the 15-watt? Depends on what voltage that it uses. And the voltages that iPhones use are different than each other. The voltages that, like, Motorola, even though they were USB A to C, they still use 12 volt, whereas Google still doesn't use 12 volt. They're still on 9. So it can differ how they have these phones set up. If you're wondering why I'm talking weird, I have a mustache, a kitten tail. Yeah. You want to sit down? Are you ready? Okay. You're going to attack me now. Okay. You going to jump? No? Yeah. Okay, guys. Hopefully this video was informative for you. If you have any questions on my thoughts and or want to correct me, a lot of this information you're getting is from my actual, experience. Like, I have both of these. That is how I prefer to learn these things. How do I learn PC building? How do I pull, people are telling me, oh, no, you don't need a better cooler for the 5800 XP. I'm like, I have done 3 builds with them. I have the data. Like, a lot of these people talk online and say stuff. Most of what I say is either backed up by data I know is good, or preferably my own data. That is also for graphics cards. If you want to know how good one performs, the best way to do it is to take your system that you know from personal experience, not just benchmark numbers, personal experience, you know how it works, and compare that to what the new one or different one or somebody else's would be. Because then you have an idea of, I know mine is this good, yours is 50% as fast, that I can see with the way I play games, it would do this. That is how I prefer to work, and why we've got both the Gen 1 and Gen 2 chargers or MagSafe adapters and their chargers. So I can try it for myself. And like I said, I just experienced the other day trying to figure out why a 30-watt adapter, not that one, wasn't charging my phone that requires 27 watts. And I thought we had figured that all out by now, but it was an Anker charger. I wouldn't see. There's a reason why those 100-watt ones are just vibing there, and they will probably never stop vibing there. So if you guys need one, let me know. They're chonky boys, and they do some stupid stuff, but they do charge. Hey, Paisley. You guys see that? She had that there. Paisley Marie. What are you doing?